They crossed deserts, climbed mountains, marched through snow, and conquered an empire. Not in boots, not with armor on their feet, but in sandals. Why? Why would the greatest military force in the ancient world send its soldiers to war half bare feet? There's more to this story than leather and laces. There's identity, strategy, survival. And what you're about to discover might just change how you see Rome forever. Welcome to Echoes of Conflict. A world built on feet. The Roman Empire wasn't built by ships, swords, or politics. It was built by footsteps. Legions of men, 5,000 at a time, marching 20 miles a day for weeks. Crossing rivers, climbing cliffs, wading through swamps. They carried weapons, tools, food, even parts of their forts, and all of it started with their feet. Their survival and Rome's expansion depended on how far a man could walk and how ready he was to fight when he got there. That's why what they wore on their feet mattered more than we think. They weren't just sandals, they were weapons of endurance. Let's get technical. The Roman military sandal is known as the caligae, plural caligae. At a glance, it looks like a normal open shoe. Leather straps, exposed toes, laced up the ankle. But underneath, rows of iron hobnails. Iron hobnails. Sharp metal studs embedded in thick leather soles. These were not flip-flops. They were part shoe, part weapon. The hobnails gave soldiers traction in mud, crushed stones underfoot, and doubled as a way to kick and wound if needed. You could hear a Roman legion marching before you saw them, a thunderous metallic rhythm that echoed across valleys. Imagine being a barbarian, hearing that sound approach, and realizing you had bare feet. Why not boots? The question most people ask is simple. Why not boots? Boots protect the ankle, keep the foot warm, guard against injury. And for many armies, from the Greeks to the Persians, boots were common. Even barbarian tribes used fur-lined footwear. But Rome? Rome chose exposure. And the answer comes down to three things: survival, adaptability, discipline. 1. Survival in heat. Rome's legions marched through North Africa, the Middle East, and southern Spain. Boots? In 40 degrees heat? Recipe for infection. Caligae allowed airflow. They dried faster, reduced fungal diseases, and prevented trench foot, a condition that centuries later would kill thousands in World War I. 2. Adaptability. The caligae were custom-fitted but could be quickly adjusted with their laces. A soldier could tighten or loosen them as terrain changed, one day desert, the next marsh. They could even be wrapped in wool or stuffed with moss in colder climates. 3. Discipline. Here's the deeper truth. The sandal wasn't just about the foot. It was a symbol of the Roman soldier's resilience. Wearing the caligae said one thing: I am tougher than the world beneath me. You didn't need soft comfort. You needed readiness. Even in their feet, Rome chose discipline over luxury. Symbol of the legion. Roman soldiers were walking propaganda. Every piece of their uniform was designed to inspire fear in their enemies and pride in their comrades. And their sandals? They were part of that identity. In Roman art, gods and emperors wore boots or barefoot, but soldiers always in caligae. Even the nickname of the infamous Emperor Caligula came from it. As a child, he wore many sandals while marching with his father's army. They called him Little Boot. To wear the caligae was to belong to the machine of Rome. No luxury, no softness, just service, obedience, and power.
Engineering endurance. Caligae were designed by military engineers, not fashion designers. Here's what made them revolutionary. Thick leather soles, up to 1.5 centimeters, durable, resistant to wear. Hobnails, iron studs punched into the bottom in specific grip patterns for different terrains. Strapped design, wrap the foot tightly, reduced friction and blisters. Easy repair. Soldiers could replace soles or nails on campaign. And because they were open, blood and water drained out. Think about that. A closed boot holds blood. A caligae lets it run free. That's not just engineering. That's ruthlessness. Fighting in sandals. So how did it feel to actually fight in sandals? Let's step into the past. Imagine, the battlefield is soaked with rain. Mud clings to your legs. You hear screaming in the distance. You're about to collide with a charging wall of Gauls. And on your feet? Leather, hobnails, sandals. But here's the twist. You don't slip. You don't sink. You grip the earth like a beast. Roman sandals were optimized for traction. The nails bit into the ground. The open design drained moisture. You stayed mobile, fast, reactive. And in close combat, even a kick with a hobnailed sandal could shatter a shin. They weren't barefoot fools. They were mobile tanks. The fear they inspired. To Rome's enemies, the sandals were more than footwear. They were a sound, a metallic grinding thunder of 5,000 hobnailed soldiers. You could hear them coming for miles. And when they came, they didn't slow down for swamps or cliffs or blood. They kept moving. Their sandals tore through earth, bone, and fear. To the tribes of Germania, they were demons in sandals. To the rebels in Judea, they were devils marching from the west. Blood, injury, and infection. But sandals had a cost. They exposed the foot. And while that helped with airflow, it also meant injury. So why did Rome stick with them? Because the gains outweighed the wounds. Fewer foot diseases, better mobility, easy cleaning and repairs. Roman medics were trained to treat punctures and lacerations on the spot. And the soldiers themselves? They were taught to endure. A cut on the foot was no excuse to fall behind. Pain was part of the march. They weren't alone. Rome wasn't the only army to use sandals, but they were the only army to standardize and optimize them. Greeks wore open footwear, Egyptians too, but none weaponized it like Rome. No one else marched from the forests of Germany to the sands of Syria and said, "These will do." No one else conquered an empire with exposed toes. The final march, the fall of the caligae. By the late empire, the caligae began to disappear. New recruits came from colder regions, Thrace, Dacia, Germania. Boots became more common. Armor changed. Shields evolved. Rome itself fractured. But the legacy of the sandal lived on, in museums, in battlefield remains, in the stories of emperors and traitors alike. Even today, reenactors say, "The moment I lace them up, I feel like a Roman." The hidden truth. So why did Roman soldiers wear sandals? Because every step mattered. because comfort was weakness, because adaptability beat protection, and because the Romans didn't fear exposure. They embraced it. The sandals weren't just tactical, they were psychological. To wear them was to say, I am Roman, I am ready, and I will not stop. Echoes beneath the sole. If you walk a Roman road today, you're walking on stone carved by sandals. If you follow a legion's path across Europe, you follow footsteps of iron and leather. And if you ever doubt how something small can shape something great, just remember what Rome wore into battle. Not armor, not boots, sandals. The empire was built from the ground up. If this changed the way you see Rome, hit subscribe and join us here at Echoes of Conflict, where the small details reveal the biggest truths. Let us know in the comments, would you have marched in sandals? Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and listen for the echoes.